So let's get started. Ashley, thank you for joining us today. Today we're lucky enough to have Ashley Taylor, the head of partnerships from Clearbit, to go through our fireside chat and answer all the tough questions about all things data. So Ashley, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, John. It's great to be here.
Awesome. So let's just jump right in. I've got some questions today, and the first one is, tell us a little bit about your company's background.
Sure. So we got started in about 2015, and we are a tech-first platform. In fact, our original name was API Hub. Thankfully, we are now Clearbit. But I think that really speaks to, all three of our founders are technical, and everything that we do is going to be developer friendly and programmatic first.
That's amazing. So how, you mentioned you guys were started in 2015. What types of customers do you serve?
Yeah, absolutely. So we work with B2B customers. All of our data is B2B. And we'll perform best for customers who sell into geos that either speak English or have at least our shared Roman alphabet. We also perform best with customers with an Alexa rank stronger than 100K, just because the larger the sample size of visitors, kind of the more you can do in operationalizing your data.
Great. What are the main problems that you help your customers solve?
So Clearbit data will integrate into an entire revenue stack. If the platform can accept API connections, we can work with them. But really, we provide the data our customers need to take action on leads and contacts. As a growth engine, we allow our customers to take action, for example, on intent signals across their website and online properties, between visitors and form fills, in any ways that prospective customers could be engaging with them online.
Wonderful. Okay. Are there specific verticals that you focus on serving? Obviously, B2B is where you're focused, but within that B2B vertical, are there industries or verticals within the B2B vertical that you really focus on?
I think because of, as I said before, the sort of tech-first approach that we've taken, we tend to do well in B2B SaaS. However, that's certainly not a requirement. Any B2B company, especially those with a lot of inbounds, or those with maybe a bifurcated sales process. So, they have both a self-serve and an enterprise sales motion, tend to be the most successful, but really we could serve just about any B2B company.
Okay. Are there specific geographic locations that you focus on?
So it's less about where the customer is located and more about where their customer base is located, so where they're selling into. But companies that sell into geos that speak English primarily will perform really strong. And then companies that sell into geos that don't necessarily speak English, but use our shared Roman alphabet will also perform well. Companies that sell mostly into geos that don't use our shared alphabet, our data quality will not be there.
Okay. And what would you categorize your data as? I think you've answered this already, but we'll let you go again.
Yeah, so it's very much B2B data. So if you're purely a B2C shop, we won't be a good fit. If you're a hybrid B2B, B2C, if you have a strong go-to-market motion for your B2B side, we could be a strong fit. And then of course, if you're pure B2B. That said, if Clearbit is something that you're interested in, our sales process pretty much always involves a data test, so that you can validate for yourself how strong our data actually is for what you are specifically looking to accomplish.
Wonderful. Do you guys consider yourselves enrichment providers solely, or do you also provide lists of net new contacts or companies?
Yeah, so we're very much an enrichment provider. Again, kind of coming back to being tech first, we don't really sell lists. That said, if you do have a list that you're looking to get enriched, you can set up an account at clearbit.com and do a one-time batch enrichment. However, to really get the power of Clearbit, you'll want to actually have ongoing, recurring, real-time enrichment used in conjunction with your CRM, with your marketing automation platform, orchestrated through a platform like RingLead.
I agree. I mean, the one-time cleanse, it's never cost-effective to clean data as opposed to prevent or have ongoing maintenance happening. Data cleanup projects are never fun. So how many business and person records are in your database?
Yeah, this is actually a really hard question to answer. Because of the way that we approach gathering data, we actually don't think about things in terms of database size. So what I mean by this, if you were to go to Clearbit and try to enrich an email address for the first time, no one has ever tried to use Clearbit to enrich this email address before. We actually won't error out. What we'll do instead is try to look it up in real time. So we'll crawl the web, we'll leverage our give to get model, we'll leverage the machine learning that we've built behind the scenes. So it's very unlikely that you'll get a complete error, but that also means that it's really hard to tell you how many records are in our database when theoretically, any email address ever, at least any B2B email address ever, could be a candidate for enrichment.
Yeah, I think that's a very unique approach. And I think it's refreshing because, I interview a lot of data vendors and I see the landscape, and a lot of them, buy information from each other, slap it in a big file and cross-reference the file to try to do enrichment rather than doing the real-time crawl aggregation and having any models set up in the back to make sure that the quality is there. I think that gives you guys a lot of flexibility, and it's a pretty cool strategy.
It does, and I think that one of our value props too is the ongoing enrichment. So people get promotions, companies grow, companies raise funding. Data can go stale, and so with our customers, we offer not just enrichment at the moment that you implement Clearbit, but an ongoing every 30-day refresh, so that data is never more than 30 days old. And then, of course, enrichment upon creation of a lead or a contact or an account.
So can I ask about that actually? If I'm a customer, do I pay one time for an enriched person and then again and again as they refresh, or do you have a model where you pay once and you get the refresh as long as you're a subscriber?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a SaaS platform. So you'll sign up for the year, and that will include keeping your database up to date every 30 days. So there's a little bit of nuance to it, but typically pricing will be based on the size of your database, so that we can make sure that we can do things like offer ongoing enrichment.
That's also really cool. So because you do size of database, you don't necessarily have to worry about how many enrichment calls you're going to make. If you're a customer,
Exactly.
You can kind of use it wherever so that you can get the best value. I think that's cool.
Exactly.
So if you're using RingLead and you enrich a web form with RingLead and that data makes it into Salesforce, then does your tool pick it up because it recognizes that enriched ID, or is there like a unique identifier where then your system can pick it up and make sure that that's always in that refresh cycle?
Yeah, I think I pick up what you're asking. With our Salesforce integration, every contact, every lead, and every account will be enriched.
Okay.
So while you could work with an orchestration platform like RingLead to be able to do this in more sophisticated ways, to be able to do things like pre-assigned territories, do lead scoring, making sure that your routing is accurate and going to the right reps. Once the lead hits Salesforce or the contact or the account, the Clearbit package will automatically enrich it. Now, it may already be enriched because it's gone through RingLead, which is also integrated with Clearbit. However, if for any reason it's not, we don't need any sort of unique identifier to say that this is a Clearbit friendly record. Your CRM only works if everything is accurate and up to date. So
yeah, I guess
we'll just
that goes back to the point that you're just enriching everything and not like, I'm not scared that I have to pay for another credit or something. That's makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
Do you offer any other services outside of providing data to the customer?
Yeah, we absolutely do. So the Clearbit platform empowers our customers to operationalize data. So for example, serving personalized ads to target accounts based on website behavior, or alerting the team when a prospect that they're working with visits. So I think historically we've been seen as a very tech-forward data vendor, and that's certainly still true. But as our company has evolved, we've started building our own product so that you're not just using Clearbit in other systems like your CRM or your marketing automation, or your orchestration platform like RingLead, but also allowing our customers to, again, to be their growth engine and let them immediately take meaningful action based on, coming from a place of data first. So understanding who's visiting by the IP address and allowing them to then take action on those intent signals.
Very cool. So earlier in the call, we mentioned Alexa ranking, and when I enrich data with Clearbit, I love seeing the Alexa rank of the companies or people at companies that I'm enriching. And so I'm wondering, I know that the Alexa 1 million is publicly available. I mean, I hate working with files. Do you guys, when you're enriching the Alexa score onto a record, go deeper than the Alexa 1 million?
Yes. I don't know if we have a cutoff, but I've definitely seen much, much, much higher numbers than 1 million.
Wonderful. Yeah, we recommend all the time that customers, because we focus a lot on tech companies as well, and understanding the Alexa rank is a big part of the analysis for ideal customer profile. It can even be in the routing rules, right? Like a company could be 10 million in revenue, but be in the Alexa, 1 million, and you maybe want to route it a little bit differently. So I think that's a very cool data point. Do you sell? Oh, go for it.
I was just going to say, I completely agree. We actually, using our own Clearbit data, we have recently embarked on a very, very in-depth journey to understand what our ideal customer profile is, and what our most successful customers look like versus those who, we see are less successful. And, with a few basic assumptions, like they're a B2B company, they sell into geos with our shared alphabet. Alexa rank is actually the strongest indicator for us of whether or not a customer could be successful. So I think we're starting to see more and more companies use that as a parameter for routing, for ICP analysis, and that resonates with what we have found to be true. We very much eat our own dog food, and everything that we worked on in understanding our ICP was powered by Clearbit, and we found Alexa rank to be incredibly important.
Yeah, one customer that we both worked with in the past, I won't mention their name, they really used the Alexa ranking, and they had us do an exercise, pull the Alexa 3 million and see how many unique companies were inside of that database, because a lot of those high ranking pages are like product pages or landing pages or blog posts. So like if you mash up the Alexa 3 million, you end up getting like 60,000 total companies, which to me was wild, because people are always spending so much time building their home pages. And I'm like, you don't need to do that. You just build awesome like funnel pages, landing pages, product pages, and pay for traffic to get there, right?
Yep.
That was a pretty good eye opener. But can you, or actually, do you sell data mostly for sales and marketing purposes? Or are there also cases where you sell to app builders and other, just general use cases?
Yeah, great question. Historically, it's been sales and marketing. What we're finding as part of the ICP analysis that I mentioned is oftentimes our marketing use cases tend to make for the most successful customers. Not always true, but there tends to be a pretty strong overlap in looking to Clearbit for marketing use cases, like I mentioned, for example, actioning website intent, over sales use cases of just enriching Salesforce data. That's an important part of it, but I think for the whole picture, oftentimes we'll see that marketing is involved.
Okay.
As for your question about app builders and other use cases, we do have some strategic partners that incorporate our data into their product functionality. Generally, we engage in these when there is when it is both a use case where Clearbit can add value to that partner's offering. And we can also tell a bigger story and really win joint customers together. And just ultimately start with, much like we have with RingLead, start with the customer experience and work backwards to figure out the best way to bring that to life.
Yeah, I've seen, we use Drift, and I see the Clearbit option inside of Drift, and
yes.
I think it's a really helpful integration, and I really think it's smooth, and it adds a ton of value. I mean, immediately when somebody pops up in a chat, if you know what company it is, it's like popping up the logo. So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Can you tell us a little about how you guys use reverse IP lookup to pair person with business data?
Absolutely. So we actually don't use reverse IP lookup to pair person with business data. Reverse IP lookup is purely going to return company level data. We call this our reveal API, and we can resolve an anonymous IP address into a full firmographic and technographic company profile. Very similar to if you try to enrich a domain via our enrichment API. We'll return all the same data, but it will be company level only. Where the user, the actual person, might come into play is using our enrichment API in conjunction with a form. So imagine that an anonymous visitor comes to your website. They don't really engage in anything. They click around and leave. That would be the reveal API, understanding the IP address and tying it back to a company. But should that site visitor engage with a form, once they enter their email address in the form, that's where the enrichment API would come in, and we can return the same full firmographic and technographic profile of the company, as well as specific data points about that person in regard of their role. So we can return things like seniority, title, job function, to give you a picture not just about the company that they're coming with attributes like we talked about before of Alexa rank or funding or employee headcounts, but also who that person is in the org, so that you can make sure you get it to your right contact so that they can have your right rep so that they can have a more educated conversation and better predict what pain points they might have.
Yeah, I think you guys have really kind of solved the problem a lot better than any of the other form builder technologies I've seen on the market, because you emphasize really reducing the fields down to a single field on a form, which is email. And then if the email doesn't match against the real-time crawl, then you're going to ask and progressively profile them for more information. But if the email does match, all the user has to do is fill out one field, which increases number of leads submitted, and then you don't lose functionality on the back end, like the routing, the ability to score it and segment it properly, because you're actually filling that data in behind the scenes. So it's a really cool feature. Anybody who is looking at Clearbit should definitely check out. Do you find that your customers are more interested in firmographic or contact data, or is it like kind of the same?
I think it depends on the use case. I think that, if a lot of times with the sales use case, the contact data will be incredibly important because these are the people that are actually going to be having the conversations with the sales team. With the marketing use case, that's certainly also important for remarketing and email nurture and email personalization. I think that where company data becomes available is for lead routing and territory assignment, and then for things like website personalization or chat personalization is a huge use case, conversational marketing, and then just understanding things like I said before about the ICP analysis. So it depends on the use case, but I think that both are generally pretty important.
Yeah, I would say so as well. Are there any specific attributes in your data catalog that have traditionally been the most popular for you?
Probably. So we try not to nickel and dime by saying, oh, you want this attribute, but not that one. It's just you get the full payload. But I think that the ones that we tend to see ourselves and our customers use the most to operationalize would sort of be what you expect, right? It would be the company name as well as things like employee headcount, Alexa rank, funding raised, revenue, location. And then at the person level, you know, their job function, their seniority, as well as we have an alert if someone leaves their job that we can typically surface long before they update LinkedIn. So I think, you know, those are some of the ones that I see operationalized most often, but I mean, we're returning over 100 data points per contact that we're enriching. So there's a lot that you could do. I will say if where we haven't seen things excuse me, go as well is B2C companies try to like do a weird hack to get some social data from our API. You know, in that case, it's probably better to just use a B2C provider. But you know, with the B2B use case, you get the full payload, so you'll have a lot of options to choose for how you want to operationalize.
That's awesome. And have any of those attributes become more popular during this pandemic, or have you offered any new type of data to, you know, help with anything going on?
Yeah, I think it's less that we've seen certain attributes become more popular and more that we've seen them used differently. So having a really full, robust data-backed picture of who your customers and your prospects are can help teams become more efficient. Help teams make sure that they're only spending ad spend on those leads that are most likely to be the best fit and have shown the strongest buying signals. Make sure that you're only investing in those opportunities that are most likely to give you the highest lifetime value. And so I think that, you know, as far as I've seen, I don't necessarily know that the importance of attributes has changed. I think it's just the way that they're operationalized. It's going from, you know, grow at all costs to become more efficient, become more conservative, figure out how we can, you know, be most effective with fewer resources.
Yeah, I'm seeing kind of a similar thing is that, you know, during these times, it's less about demand gen and getting in front of people, and it's more, it really is that spring cleaning. We're all, okay, let's bring it back. Let's clean it up. Let's find out where we really should target the business. Let's get better focused. So in a way, the data almost becomes more strategic during a time like this because you know, people outside of just that normal demand gen unit start to take notice of the information.
Yes, completely agree.
Okay, so the last question, and I think you gave us an answer, but you said about 100 or over 100. So how many data attributes do you have in your catalog? And it can be a ballpark figure.
The ballpark figure would be a little over 100. If you actually go to our listing on the RingLead DataExchange, I think your team has listed out every single one of them. You can also go to clearbit.com/attributes, but yeah, it's a little bit over 100 if you include, you know, all the firmographic, all the technographic, and all the, you know, job role, function, seniority data points that we return.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I really appreciate you coming on with us today. I think you've given us a wealth of information, and Clearbit's got an amazing solution. They've got amazing technology, an amazing team. Ashley and her team are very knowledgeable and will make it very easy for you to be able to connect with them. But we really enjoyed having the conversation, having you on the show today. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, John.